kids, it's me, Tony Homeperm, the singing diva of Long Island. If you enjoy videos where you get to see me create fabulous drag looks, then you've tuned in to the right channel. Now today I am doing something a little bit different. This is a look that I created by creating my own dupe version of the Oden's Eye and Angelica Hela palette, and I did that by curating similar colors out of my own eyeshadow collection. Now the reason that I did this is because when I saw the palette revealed online, I really thought it had a beautiful color story. I already own one Oden's Eye palette, the Giant Wolves palette, that they did in collab with Annette from Annette's Makeup Corner, and I love that palette, one of my favorite palettes of 2021. So I thought the Hela palette would be a great palette to have in my collection. However, I'm on a very strict low buy, and I was kind of torn between that palette, the Hela palette, and another palette, and the other palette just it just won by just a little bit. But needless to say, I would love to have the Hela palette in my collection. It's just that I'm being very strict with myself as far as adding palettes to my collection, and I just felt that I didn't need to add it to the collection. However, I do want to say it's a beautiful palette. If you love the color story, definitely buy the palette, support Oden's Eye and Angelica. I'm sure it is a fabulous palette. I know the quality is good because I have the Giant Wolves palette, and it's a beautiful color story, so I can't imagine anyone being unhappy with that palette. It was just for me that the timing situation was not right for me to get that palette, but I said to myself, you know what, I'm pretty sure that I have a lot of colors very similar to what is in that palette that I could sort of curate my own dupe version out of what I have, and you know, just make myself happy that I have something similar in my collection and not feel too upset that I couldn't get the palette. Now, basically what I did was, for the most part, I watched Angelica's reveal of the palette, and I went through watching her do her live swatches, and you know, had it up on my computer screen and was, you know, really looking closely, trying to find colors in my own collection that would be dupes or very close to the colors and formulas and finishes in the Hela palette. Are they exactly the same? No. Are they formula dupes? No, not at all. Are they similar? Yes, they're similar. They're close enough for me to just feel like, okay, I don't have the exact thing, but I have something close. Now, when I was actually, you know, thinking of this and looking at the Hela palette, I said, one palette in my collection that looked like it had some very similar tones was my Be Perfect Carnival 4 palette, the Antidote palette. And when I open it up, and we're just going to bend that back, maybe I'll just hold it like that. This area of the palette had a lot of grungy greens and yellowy greens and colors like that, and I thought that there may be some close similar colors to the Hela palette in this. So this was, you know, definitely one of the palettes that I looked at as far as finding similar tones and finishes. Another palette that I thought had some very similar colors was the Shroud It's Freaking Bats palette. It says Butte Bean, but of course now she's Batty Bean. And I thought this definitely had some similar colors to the Hela palette. And again, these are not like, they're not dupes or anything. It's just that there's like a similar color vibe. Some of the colors are similar or close, but not all. So this definitely was one that sort of that I felt had some similar vibe to the Hela palette. Another palette, and this like really shocked me. It sort of shocked me that this palette had a very similar color vibe, because it is so apropos that it does. And of course, I'm referring to the Loki palette from Notoriously Morbid, and it's a little sheddy, but this palette actually has a similar vibe as far as like the green and the shimmer tones in the Hela palette, which I thought was so funny, because in Norse mythology, Loki is the father of Hela. So how apropos that the Loki palette had a similar vibe to the Hela palette. I guess it's, you know, it's a family thing. Another palette that I thought was similar in color vibe was my BH Cosmetics Absinthe palette from their Poison Shot collection, and that's the inside of the palette. So I thought that it was kind of that was kind of nice that, you know, BH Cosmetics, who, you know, she loves them, that they would have a palette that had a similar vibe to the Hela palette. In no way is it a dupe for the Hela palette. No way are any of these dupes for the Hela palette. It's just that in some ways there's a similar color vibe. That's all I'm saying. Those palettes were giving me, like, you know, a similar vibe to the Hela palette, but I said, you know what, I want to see if I can pull from all of my palettes and you know, go color by color and dupe the colors that are in the Hela palette. Really, just as an exercise for myself. That's the only thing. Do I really recommend doing this if, you know, you really want the palette? No, it would be far more easy to just order the palette and have all of those colors in one little palette. But this was more just an exercise for myself, just to have a little bit of fun, pull out a lot of different palettes and play around and swatch and do something like that. So, as I say, I decided to go one by one, and now in the Hela palette, the first color is that matte yellow, which is called Rebirth, and I actually found in my Menagerie Pastel Pup palette, there is a pastel yellow here called Sunbathe, and I'm just gonna do a little hand swatch of that. Okay, that's Sunbathe, a very pale yellow matte, and I felt that would be a good dupe for Rebirth in this sort of dupe palette that I was collating. Okay, the next color in the Hela palette is the color Fluorescence, and Fluorescence is described as a firefly-like light yellow-green shimmering eyeshadow. And the color that I found in my collection similar to that was from the Loki palette, and it is the color Kneel. Yes, the color Kneel. K-N-E-E-L. And that is the color there. And let me just do a swatch there. And there is Kneel next to Rebirth. And I felt that it was similar enough, close enough for me. Okay, the next color is Underworld, which is described as a ginger matte eyeshadow, and the color that I found in my collection to dupe that is the color Moss from the Antidote palette, which I'm not going to pick up. It's just too big. That is the color Moss from the Antidote palette. Hope you can see it. And I'm just gonna swatch that there on my hand. That's the color Moss. Next from the Hela palette is the color Decay, which is described as a taupe matte eyeshadow, and the dupe in my collection I found for Decay is from the Antidote palette, and it is called Ash. That's the color Ash, and ooh, my hand is getting glittery. That's Ash there. Let me just show you that there. I also I have some pictures and video that I'll show you at the end where I have everything swatched out on my arm. But that is my dupe for the color Decay, which is the color Ash from the Antidote palette. Okay, next in the Hela palette is the color called Golden Bridge, and that is described as a golden diamond shimmer eyeshadow. And the dupe that I found for that is from the It's Freakin' Bats palette, and it is the color Handbook, and it is it is a shimmer, and I'm gonna swatch that for you there, and there it is there. And I felt this was really close to the color Golden Bridge when I was looking at like people's live swatches. So I thought that was actually very similar, and so that is my dupe for Golden Bridge. Okay, next from the Hela palette is Moss, and Moss is described as a grayish green matte eyeshadow, and I found another dupe for that in my It's Freakin' Bats palette, and it is this color Trappa right there. And I'm going to show you Trappa there, and I'm going to swatch it on my hand right there, and there it is. And I thought that was also very similar. Okay, next from the Hela palette is the color Venom, which is a green diamond shimmer eyeshadow, and the color that I found in my collection closest to that was from the BH Cosmetics Absinthe palette, and it's this color Elixir, which happens to be such a beautiful color, probably my favorite color out of the Absinthe palette. And let me swatch it for you right there. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So from what I could see in video, that's really close to the color Venom in the Oden's Eye palette. So I mean, probably palette is probably worth it just for that color alone. It's a beautiful color, beautiful in the Absinthe palette, and I'm sure it's just as beautiful, if not more so, in the Oden's Eye palette. Okay, next is Ouroboros, and Ouroboros is actually the snake in Norse mythology that is wrapped around the world, and it swallows its own tail. Such a cool thing. Ouroboros is described as a retro dark green matte eyeshadow, and I actually found two colors that were really similar to it in the two of the palettes that I already found similar colors. The first was this color Atoms from the It's Freakin' Bats palette, and let me just show that to you. It's a beautiful dark teal sort of green. I'm just gonna put that right there. Oh, look at how pigmented that is. Oh my god, beautiful. And also there was Blackout in the Absinthe palette right there. Let me swatch that one for you too. That one is more green. Let me put that there. And that's Blackout. I felt that Blackout actually, just because of the color, that it leaned more green, that Blackout was really the better dupe. And actually when I created this look, I used Blackout. I didn't use Atoms. I just felt that it was leaning a little bit too blue, but what a beautiful color it is. I mean, if you're trying to dupe something, if you were trying to dupe the Oden's Eye palette and you wanted a color similar to Ouroboros and you didn't have the Absinthe palette, but you had the It's Freaking Bats, I mean, you could definitely use Adams. It's still in that same color family, and it would definitely give you a beautiful look. So, but for my purposes, I felt that Blackout was the better one to go with. So that's the one that I put in my finished collated project as the dupe for the Hela palette. Okay, the next color in the Hela palette is called Wolf, and it is described as a matte tannish brown eyeshadow. And I really felt, rather than, you know, going into a million different other palettes, I felt that this color, Mischief from the Loki palette, would be a good dupe for that. Let me use a clean finger. There we have it. That color from the Loki palette would work as a good dupe for the color Wolf in the Hela palette. Okay, the next color in the Hela palette is the color Hela, and that is described as a matte baby pink eyeshadow. I felt that my Pastel Pup palette, that this color Cuddle, that sort of pastel pink, that would be a good dupe for Hela. Just let me clean that finger off. And there's Cuddle, and of course the Menagerie formula is so good. And there we have it. I hope you can see that. It's probably not too dissimilar from my skin color, but there it is. There's my dupe for Hela, the Pastel Pink. That's the color Cuddle from the Menagerie Pastel Pup palette. Next from the Hela palette is the color Hellfire, and Hellfire is described as a pink orange shimmer, diamond shimmer eyeshadow with sparkles in multiple colors. This one was a little difficult. I decided that for me, for my purposes, what would work as a dupe would be the color, I think it's, yes, Glad Tidings from the Loki palette, and it is that one right there. And it's a very sort of translucent kind of color. I don't know how well the swatch is gonna look, but there it is there. I mean, it seemed to have a very sort of peachy, shimmery look in swatches that I saw, and I thought this, you know, sort of gave that effect. Is it exactly the same? Probably not. I mean, I would probably need the actual eyeshadow and have to, you know, really put them side by side and see. But as far as what I could see in videos and people's swatches, I felt that this was close. And if I was really wanted to create a look based off of a look in the Hela palette that used that color Hellfire, I felt I could use Glad Tidings from Loki, and I could get away with it. Okay, the next color is Goddess, and Goddess is described as a vintage rose matte eyeshadow. And honestly, I have so many colors like that, but I thought for curating this dupe palette, and you'll realize why later, I could use from my Chaotic Cosmetics Brainwashed palette this color Fourth Dimension, a beautiful pink. There, you see it there. And we're just going to swatch it right there. And there you have it. I do want to point out, in some of the still shots that I've seen of the swatches, that Goddess looked almost red, almost raspberry. But in live video swatches that I saw, it was definitely more of a hot pink, not not so raspberry. It's certainly not so red. So that was a little bit jarring for me when I was trying to curate, you know, colors that would dupe the palette. I mean, I felt it was better to go with what I saw in like live video swatches rather than the still shots. I think that made the most sense. Okay, so now this is the real problematic one. Okay, because it's the multi-chrome. It's called double-sided, and it looks like a beautiful multi-chrome. It's described as a multi-chrome eyeshadow, a unique color with multiple shifts of golden, greens, and pinks. And I certainly didn't have anything, you know, exactly like that in my collection. However, I did feel that in the Loki palette, that this color called Glorious Purpose, and it is that right there, and it does shift quite a bit from like sort of peachy gold to green, and I don't think it's a multi-chrome, but it certainly has a lot of those qualities. Like, you're probably seeing very sort of peachy golden. That's what I'm seeing in the monitor. But like when I'm looking, I'm seeing green. I don't know. Maybe it is a multi-chrome. You know, maybe it really is. I didn't think it was, but now I'm saying maybe it is a multi-chrome, because as I'm looking in the monitor, and when I look, you know, right here, I'm seeing green, but in the monitor, very sort of peachy golden. So maybe this is closer than I thought. So yeah, Glorious Purpose from the Loki palette. You know, a pretty good dupe for double-sided from the Hela palette. Let's see if we go like that. I have to say this color has, you know, quite a bit of fallout. I'm trying to see if you can see any of the shift. Probably would be better if I could show you with a mirror. This is always so hard to do. Always so hard to do. Let me grab that and see if I can get the mirror so you can see. I think you can see. Yeah, I think it's showing there in the mirror the shift. So yeah, I think it has a similar shift. I don't know what the formula is like or anything like that. I don't know how similar the shifts are, but I think it's in the ballpark. It's in the ballpark. So yeah, I think I came pretty close. Okay, the next color in the Hela palette is called River, and it is a multicolor diamond shimmer eyeshadow with light purple base tone. And I felt that the color in my collection that sort of came closest to it was in the Chaotic Cosmetics Brainwash palette, and it's this color, Hidden Secrets, down here. It's beautiful duochrome, and let me swatch it for you there, and there it is there. And it's a beautiful color. The shimmers in this palette are so freaking good. I can't tell you how beautiful they are. So let me swatch that, and oh, can you see that? I hope you can see all of that. I mean, it's not a multi-chrome, but wow, it's close. It's really close. It's just such a beautiful color. And I don't know if it's exactly the same as River in the Hela palette, but I think it's probably close. It's probably, you know, very near to that color. And I mean, it's just such a beautiful color anyway. I mean, anything you did with it, it's going to create a beautiful look. So that's what I felt would approximate River for me in my little curated dupe of the Hela palette. Okay, now this was probably one of the easiest ones. When I saw this color, Soot, I think is it Soot? In the Hela palette, I knew I had that color, and it was an easy one. I knew in the It's Freaking Bats palette, I knew that this color, Derry, had to be a almost an exact dupe for that color, and Soot is described as a, let me see the description here, a dark purple brown matte eyeshadow. And when I swatch Derry for you, there you see it there, and then when I put it on the hand, look at that, very, you know, dark purple brown kind of a matte. One of the most unique colors in my collection, and I think this would be, as far as what I've seen in still shots, in video swatches, this to me looks like it looks like a near exact dupe of that color Soot. So I think it's probably, out of all the colors that I sort of curated, this is probably the closest match to anything in the Hela palette. I think that Derry is like almost an exact dead-on dupe of Soot. And finally, last but not least, it's the color Complete, which is described as a silver diamond shimmer eyeshadow with black base tone. And the color that I felt in my collection was closest to that is from another BH Cosmetics palette, the Venom palette, one of my favorite palettes. And it's the color Bitten right there. I had a few that I felt were similar, but Bitten seemed to me to be the closest one. I mean, I'm sure it's not exact, but I think it's very close. So that's Bitten there on the finger, and I'm going to swatch it here. And there you go. And from what I've seen as far as other people's swatches and video swatches, it looked to me like this was really close. Is it exact? No. Is it very close? Yes it is. So that's the last one as far as all the shadows that I sort of curated my own Hela dupe for. Okay, so I did swatch everything on my arm in one frame, just so you could see, and I'm going to put that up on the screen now. And there you have it. That's all the colors that I curated from my eyeshadow collection that I felt would give you a that I felt would give me a pretty close color story to the Hela palette. Also, what I did was I created a comparison. I made a composite shot. I have my arm on the top with the colors that I felt were good dupes for colors from the Hela palette, and underneath are Angelica's swatches that she did. The only thing I will point out is Hela looks so much more red raspberry in her swatches, and that was from a still shot, but I really feel that what I saw in videos, it was much closer to the color that I swatched on my arm. And I think when you look at these side by side, are they exactly the same? No, they're not exactly the same. Are they very close? I think they are. I think they're very close. Not exact, not, you know, a duplicate of each other by any means, but really similar. And I felt it was close enough that I could create a look with this color story that I created that would be comparable to any look that you would create with the actual Hela palette. I did do some video as well, so I'm going to throw that up on the screen. I just want you to see how the colors look in actual moving video. I think it's always different when you see it like that, especially with some of these more sparkly colors and multi-chromes and things like that. It's really hard to get the actual feel of the color in a still shot. And you know, the still shots, the colors can be, well, I mean, you can amplify, you can alter colors in video too. Honestly, I really don't know how to do that. I just use my iPhone to just take some video of these swatches, and hopefully it's true to color. So there you have it. There's how I curated my own version of the Hela palette, trying to curate colors in my collection that were as close to, as similar to the colors in the Oden's Eye and Angelica palette as best that I could. And overall, I have to say I'm really, really happy with what I was able to create. And there will be another video where I show you how I created this look based off a look that Angelica did using the Hela palette. I think I came pretty close. When you see that video, you have to let me know what you think. So I have to say, this was a fun exercise for me. I, pulled a bunch of different palettes, and I was swatching, and I was looking at the videos of people live swatching, and trying to see if I had colors that were close, were similar, It honestly, it was a lot of fun. So it might be something that you want to consider doing on your own if there's a palette that you're thinking about getting, but you're not sure if you really want to get it, or are you thinking, well, I have a lot of palettes that are similar to it. Do I have enough in my collection that's so close to it that that maybe really I don't need it? So really that's what I did. I mean, it was like playtime for me. It was really a lot of fun to do it, and I think it's something that I will probably do again in the future if there's another palette that I see people are excited about, but I decide for one reason or another I'm not going to purchase it to add it to my own collection. Again, I do want to say I think the Angelica and Oden's Eye Hela palette is a beautiful palette. I have the Giant Wolves palette. Their formula is great. Angelica is a incredible, fabulous YouTube creator. So I would highly recommend, if you are going to buy any palette, it would be a great palette to purchase. It's just that I decided not to purchase it for my own personal reasons, and it's certainly a palette I would love to have in my own collection, but I've just decided not to add it to my collection. I hope I didn't say all that stuff too many times. I hope that everyone gets my drift, that this was just a fun thing to do. It was in no way, shape, or form of me trying to convince people not to get the palette. As I say, if you see the palette and you really love the color story and you want to get it, get it. I'm sure you'll be very happy with it. Now, if you liked this video, then please hit the like button down below. And of course, as long as you're already hitting the like button, you might as well hit the subscribe and the notification bell. They're all located right down there in the same place. You can always catch me in my weekly podcast, God'll Get You for That, Walter, which is the show I do with Tom Cat. We watch episodes of the 1970s sitcom Maude, which starred B. Arthur. We review the episodes. We talk about how things were in the 1970s, how much things have changed, and in some ways how things have not changed at all. But we do it with a lot of laughs along the way. There's also my Naughty or Nice internet variety show that I do with the horror diva Alexis Flame. All the details for Naughty or Nice, including our merchandise, and of course where to find me on social media. The details for all of those things is listed down below. Well kids, I hope you enjoyed this video. You got to see me curate my own dupe version of the Angelica and Oden's Eye Hela palette just by pulling shadows from my own collection. I had a lot of fun doing it. I definitely suggest to you if you know, you're thinking about a palette that you might want to get, but you're not sure, do you really need it? Maybe you can't afford it, and maybe you already have palettes in your collection that are similar enough to it. It's a fun thing to do. I mean, you know. I mean, if you're stuck at home or you got nothing to do and you want something fun, something to pass the time, it's not a bad thing to do. Just pull out your palettes and start swatching and playing with your makeup. I mean, that's what makeup's for. It's to have fun with. And I mean, you know what? You want to smear it on your face, smear it on your face. Because it's only makeup, and at the end of the day, it washes off. So that is all that I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I can't wait to see all of you again in the next one. Bye-bye. If you're stuck in the house and you ain't got any place to go, you know, what can be better than just, you know, playing with your palettes and